Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel Bilingual Mingle. My name is Tanya and today's video is going to be slightly different from other videos that I've created so far for this channel. I decided to create a cycle of interviews with my friends and colleagues who are bilinguals like I am or raising bilingual kids. I thought that there are some questions I have that are still unanswered for me, and I would like to ask their opinion or ask them to share their experience of being bilinguals, finding their place in the world, in the society, in the communities they live in while being bilinguals, and raising their children as bilingual individuals. My first guest was Pam. Pam is my dear friend. I met Pam when I was studying at Villanova University and I was getting my master's in theology. She was actually getting her master's in biology, and we were part of graduate student council. So ever since I met Pam, we became best friends right away. And ever since then, since 2016, we've been very close, despite the fact that we don't really see each other, because Pam actually, once she graduated, moved back to her native country, Lebanon. Ever since she got married, she gave birth to a wonderful, very sweet baby girl, Michele. Michele was born in April 2020, so she is a little bit older than Leon, and it's always such a pleasure, and I'm always so happy to receive pictures of Michele and Pam's and her husband's interaction with her. So yeah, we're really good friends, and I'm so happy we are able to stay connected. So I thought that it was a great person to ask to give me an interview, since I'm really new to this format, and I wanted to ask her some questions about how language situation in Lebanon looks like, how hard it is to raise a bilingual child in Lebanon, and how Pam, by being a full-time mom and a full-time teacher, she's teaching biology at school, is able to combine both of those roles, and is able to still find a way to think about your daughter's multilingualism. So again, I'm very new to this, so guys, if you like this format, please make sure to subscribe to my channel down below, and hit the like button if you like this video. I hope you enjoy it. So, hi Pam.
Hello, Tanya.
Hello. So I have a very very nice background on my end. So obviously I'm in Philadelphia, United States, and Pam, my very dear and best friend Pam, is actually our first guest in my channel, Bilingual Mingle. And I invited Pam because she doesn't live in the United States. She lives in a different beautiful country, Lebanon. So I invited her over today to take an interview with her and to talk a little bit about her journey as being a mom of multilingual daughter, Michele. She's a very sweet, nice girl. Pam always sends me tons of pictures of her and her family, her activities. Pam, would you mind introducing yourself and kind of telling us more about you?
Sure. First of all, I'm really happy that I'm doing this with you, and to share a little bit of my journey with Michele and bilingualism or multilingualism. So about me, so I'm Pam. I'm from Lebanon, and I met Tanya while we were doing graduate studies in the United States. So I was studying molecular biology, and she was doing theology. And yes, they're two different departments, but we met, and we were together. We were serving the council, the graduate student council.
Yep.
Right. And Tanya was the president, and I was VP for social activities. So we were like planning a lot of things together, and we became best friends ever since. And even after graduation, like we've always been in contact. So basically, that's it. I'm a teacher. I'm a middle school teacher, a science teacher. I love my job because I can interact with kids all the time, and I feel like every time they understand something, they're growing, and I'm glad to be like part of their growth process. It's very rewarding for me. I'm also a full-time mother and a full-time teacher. So my daughter is 2 years old. Her name is Michele. And yeah, basically I'm enjoying this life with my family. And that's it.
Awesome, Pam. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you start talking about being a mom of Michele. Michele is trilingual, right?
Yeah,
Multilingual
trilingual.
girl, trilingual. So was it a hard decision for you to kind of decide raising Michele as a trilingual person?
Okay, so it wasn't really hard at all because being in Lebanon, I must tell you a little bit about how Lebanon works, if I may. So basically, Lebanon in and of itself is, of course, an Arab country. So the official spoken language is not spoken, but the official language, standard language is Standard Arabic. And then we have, because we're Lebanese, so we have the Lebanese dialect, which we converse with casually. So if I want to talk to my family members, I want to talk to persons on the street, in a grocery store, we talk in Lebanese. We don't talk the standard Arabic language. So, but they're different. Lebanese is very different from the official language of Arabic. So, and also we speak English and French. So I'll get to that a little bit later, but it wasn't really a decision because whenever we, like in our homes, we kind of speak the three languages, but we switch languages in between every time. I'm just talking generally, this is how the culture is built. About the dialect, so Standard Arabic is spoken or is learned and taught in all the Arab countries in the world. But dialects differ from one country to another. So I speak Lebanese because I'm from Lebanon. But if I'm talking to someone from Egypt, the person from Egypt will be speaking in Egyptian dialect, which is also a different form of Arabic. Now, we understand each other for the most part, but there are some Arab nations, like, for example, if I were to be talking to a person from Yemen or from Sudan, I will not, or Algeria, Morocco, I will not understand a word. They wouldn't understand a word, but there are different forms of Arabic. We do understand if we talk the standard Arabic, like the official Arabic, we do that. But none of the Arab countries speak to their children or to their families in the official language. It's very weird. But if
this is such a big news for me. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Right. It is weird. Yeah, it is. So we understand each other if we speak the standard language. So if I were to go to Morocco and they wouldn't understand me or them, I would talk to them in official Arabic, which is super uncommon and like we don't do that at all. So this being said, when I say that Michele speaks Arabic, she doesn't speak the official Arabic language. She speaks the Lebanese dialect.
Okay. Are you planning to teach her official Arabic, like a standard one?
So here's the other thing. When you go to school, because you're in an Arab country, you are obliged, ever since you're in kindergarten till high school, even university, we are obliged to learn the official Arabic language, the letters, how to read, how to write, poetry, literature, like it's just a standard language. But in parallel, we speak Lebanese in our daily lives. So we kind of have two different languages, which are essentially the root, of the same language. So that's like one thing on its own. And we also have the French and English, which I will be talking about because it largely depends on the schools now. So I'll give you like a small historical background to kind of explain how Lebanon became a trilingual country. So in the 1800s, we have been colonized by the French, by France, basically. And that came with a lot of, incorporation of the French language in our daily lives. And also we had a lot of missionaries. So missionaries are basically religious Christian, I want to say monasteries, but it's basically like religious groups of nuns, like sisters, that came to Lebanon with the main goal or mission to establish schools and universities in order to enroll Lebanese students or Lebanese children in schools, because at the time, education was not accessible for everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
because the French culture states that education is free for everyone, they wanted to do the same thing in Lebanon. And of course, because they're French, they established French institutions.
Mm-hmm.
What the Lebanese government did was, of course, they took on the French influence, and they incorporated the French language in schools. They taught math, science, social studies in French, which was the main language of instruction. And in addition to that, the official Arabic language. So now we have schools that teach both official Arabic and French with poetry, literature, and everything that goes on. So if you come to Lebanon and ask any person, have you ever learned math in Arabic? They will tell you no, it's either English or in French.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned math and science in English, for example.
Mm-hmm.
My husband learned math and science in French all his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's very uncommon to learn in Arabic. We
That's
don't
also
know what it means.
fascinating. Yeah.
It is.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's very hard in Arabic to do it's anyway, Arabic is a very hard language, and also to incorporate it in science and math, it's very difficult. So, right. I mean, for me, it's
Mm-hmm.
and with the rise of globalization, and we were now one huge village, if you want. Like, you're in the United States right now, I'm in Lebanon, we're talking. We didn't have that before. So the government also realized that English language is super important as well, and so they incorporated it in schools. So now we have schools that teach official Arabic and French, and we also have schools that teach official Arabic and English, whereby the main language of instruction is in English in addition to Arabic, and in the other set of schools, main language of instruction is French in addition to Arabic. Also now, again, both types of schools, they understood the importance of each other's languages, and so they incorporated as well the other language.
Wow.
So most schools in Lebanon are trilingual. If not from the pre-K or like kindergarten, they start in early primary years, like grades 1, 2. For example, you are in an English institution, you start French maybe at nursery, or if not, then you can start it at grade 1 till high school. And vice versa, if you're in an institution or school that teaches French, you start at very early years. So when the student is 18 years old, of course, they will be more fluent in the main language, which is either French or English and Arabic. But they will know and have not only a basic understanding, but they will be able to converse in the other language. That was essentially the goal.
Gotcha. So it looks like that your decision, your family's decision to raise Michele as a trilingual or multilingual person, right, was kind of dictated by the culture and by the language situation that exists in your country right now.
Essentially, yes. Essentially,
okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Would you make this decision if the situation was maybe slightly different, maybe if it was just one foreign language, let's say English or French, and just Lebanese? Would you make the same decision to teach her this third language, whether it would be French or English?
I would, but I'm sure it will take me much more effort, of course, to do it, because it's so much easier for me if the general culture is just like French and Arabic. So I'd be like, okay, it's great for her to learn already 2 languages. Why would I invest in a third one, right? But I personally am a huge fan of languages. So I like to teach, like now I'm thinking about teaching her Spanish, but I will not do that right now. I will not do that. What pushed me to talk to Michele in mainly French. So, okay, I'll tell you now more about Michele. So we speak to her mainly in French, okay? Because we know that when society, when she's going to go to school with her friends, with her grandparents, she's going to be talking in Lebanese, definitely, because it's very common. So this, she will learn it on her own. And of course, we do talk to her also in Lebanese. I teach in an international school, and they teach also in English. So, and I'm planning on enrolling her in that school. So she will also be learning her English in school. At daycare, they teach her both languages, French and English. So they have activities done in French and activities done in English, worksheets in French, worksheets in English, songs, books, whatever, in all those two languages. So now, but Michelle currently right now is super fluent in French, understands and speaks English, but not as fluently as she speaks French.
Okay.
And Lebanese, she understands everything. And she says some words in Lebanese, but she doesn't talk like full sentences in Lebanese. She does that in French primarily, less and less in English, and less in Lebanese. But she is, will I say, is she 100% fluent in all three? No, but we are on the way.
Interesting.
She's only 2 years old.
Okay, that makes sense. So you said that in your daycare they provide activities in both languages, English and French. What language learning method does your family use at home? Because since Michelle is talking three languages, speaking three languages, a Paul and MLH would not definitely work. What approach do you use?
It kind of is like a poll, because my husband speaks to her mainly like all the time in French and sometimes in Lebanese, which is like super common, you know, like whenever you say stop it, like you can say in Lebanese, it's fine, you know, but mainly in French. And I make it a point, like I have the tendency to speak to her in French, but I make it a point to always, like whenever we're at home, to talk to her in English exclusively. She can answer me in French, but I still talk to her in English. And now I'm seeing progress. Like she's always now starting to respond in English. Yeah. She knows everything, like the colors, the shapes, like basic sentences. Like she knows how to speak the language. And daycare really helps me because she has an English teacher and a French teacher. So the English teacher really helps me out because, you know, they speak English in class, and she has to talk in English at some point. So that's mainly the approach. Her father speaks to her in French. I speak to her in both, but mainly in English when I want to, you know, make the effort. Her her grandparents speak to her in French and in Lebanese.
Lebanese. Okay. So that's also very interesting for me to kind of find out this balance between languages that you guys, you know, have during your daily life. So you mentioned that you're a full-time mom and you're a full-time teacher. Would you say that your approach to raising Michelle as a trilingual person has changed ever since you returned back to work? And if so, how are you were able to obtain this balance between languages, and how are you doing it now?
So basically it just came very naturally, like because we do that super naturally at home. Is that what you're asking? I guess
at home.
Yeah, I didn't really find it hard at all, actually, because it's just the way it is. Like, this is the way the country is. This is the way, as I just said, like daycare was helping me out. I didn't really find it hard to adjust anything, you know, in my approaches. And also when I returned back to work, because of COVID, we had to stay, you know, one year at home. She had been already a 1 year old before she went to daycare. So it wasn't that hard, you know. I invested in books, a lot of books in different languages, even in Arabic. So we read stories in all the three languages. Sometimes when we're reading an English book, she would be referring to things in French, and vice versa. Like when we read a French book, she would be referring to things in French and English, which is interesting how the child gets to, you know, make those connections between the two languages.
Leon also starts doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So what are your since you're working full time, what kind of daily language activities or just simple activities in which you can incorporate also language learning do you usually have with Michele?
Right. So one very natural and simple activity when we go outdoors, we start pointing at things like this was earlier. We start pointing at things, if I want to focus on English, I would never say, like, for example, that this is a tree in French. I would say, this is a tree, look at the tree, look at the sky. Like, I would point at things and name them in English. So that's like, she would be enjoying that process, I remember. And books, definitely, like, as another activity. Also, like, we put shapes and we start pointing at them. But then when the child gets older, so now she's 26 months now, so we're past that stage already. It's just like the sentences that we speak, like we speak in short sentences, but like meaningful ones, and full ones in that same language. Like, we don't switch languages at all. So basically, like, these are the main, I would call them activities, but because they're not like solid, activities that we do.
Of course.
But, like reading books, pointing at things, natural things like that, basically.
Do you read any bilingual books with Michele? So basically the book where there's both, the stories written in both languages.
No, I have not come across any of those books, but it really is interesting. I should look at that.
They're obviously very popular here in America because there's so many people who speak minority language but also English, right? But I feel like for Michele, since based on how you explain the language situation in Lebanon, based on how I understood it, it's really she really would not probably see it as a choice to speak multiple languages, but just as a fact, like everybody are doing it, and I'm gonna do it as well. So for her, maybe it's interesting to kind of look into this and see how kids who don't have to, or parents, families, right, who don't have to make this decision, how their kids treat bilingual books, and families where there's definitely a minority language and language of majority treat bilingual books.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you, Pam. I think that I had one more question. Okay. So we kind of started reflecting a little bit on your journey of raising Michele as a multilingual child, human, and you kind of spoke a little bit about your kind of feelings and thoughts about this. Would you be able to share with me and with our audience, what do you think are your best or your kind of the weakest points and the kind of the strongest points of being a mom of a multilingual child?
Wow.
Okay. And is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah. The weakest point, I'll start with that, is that sometimes we get to like, I focus a lot on French because I know that French is a little bit more complicated than English. English is an easier language to learn. And I know that if she has the French, like, she will be able to get the English. But if I were to do it differently from the start, I'd be like, okay, full on those two languages at the same time, simultaneously. So I would be opting for the OPAL method, like one parent, one language, whereby I speak, which is what I'm starting to do right now, but I think I should have started earlier on in the process. So with my second child, I will be definitely doing this. The strongest points is consistency. So like, we always speak, French, and with her grandparents, she speaks Lebanese. And now I'm always consistently trying to speak to her in English. So I think the determination and the consistency is, of course, a challenge, but I think I can say that I like what I did so far. Like, I'm happy with the outcome so far. But of course, as I said, like, I can change the approach a little bit so that I can reinforce both languages within the same, standards.
Early on. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Michelle's definitely going to have a lot of advantages. I mean, she's going to be a, how you call it,
definitely.
like international person. She everywhere she'll be able to, speak speak the language that people will understand her. So
Right.
she's going to have a lot of advantages. Definitely. Do you have any fears of her being multilingual? Kind of regarding really anything, her personal
Hmm.
development, your interaction with other people. Are there any fears at all that you have right now for her?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a fear, more
Mm-hmm.
like it's a concern,
Mm-hmm.
because because when you're a parent, you want your child to be good at everything, and uh, we tend, like me, for example, as a person, I tend to switch languages, at the same, like I'd be talking to my husband in Lebanese and then in English and then in French, like within the same paragraph. So, I mean, it is nice, but at the same time, like I want her to be fluent in all three at the same time. Like
Okay.
I cannot say, for example, let's take standard Arabic. I'm not fluent at all in standard Arabic at all.
Mm-hmm.
But but although I've learned it all my life. But am I fluent at it? No. But I mean, my fear is for her to, being half fluent. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I want
Mm-hmm.
her to be fully fluent in all three and not, 75% here and 80% there. Like, I want her
Mm-hmm.
to be, because it all goes back, as I explained to you, like maybe case of Leon, he will be 100% fluent in maybe Russian and English at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, because you're adopting, I guess, Opal. But because we're in Lebanon, everybody is doing everything. Like it kind of gets chaotic a little bit. But
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
my challenge is for me to be, you know, get her to be simultaneously fluent in all three,
Mm-hmm.
which is not that hard if consistency is practiced at home, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
consistency is definitely key. I like that you mentioned this
Yeah.
word because that's what I
Mhm.
see also. Despite the fact that we have only two languages in our family unit right now, I do feel like already that Leon starts prioritizing English over Russian because I speak also English to him sometimes
Right.
when we are, when there's three of us in the room and we're
Yeah,
talking with
Tanya,
someone.
you
Yeah.
have a bigger challenge than me. It's harder for you, of course, because all
It's
you hear
different
is it's
challenges,
different. It's
and
different.
that's why I love our interview so much because I see now that Michelle's language journey is so different, and it has definitely its advantages and things that you're also a little bit concerned about and gonna
A
work.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Pam, so much for this time that you found for us for this channel. I'm really very grateful that you were able to share your story and the story of Michelle. Really, really, I hope that our viewers are going to like it and going to learn something new and beneficial for their multilingual families. Thank you, Pam.
It was such a pleasure, Tanya, to be with you today.
Uh,
I'm
thank you.